We are going to start. Thank you for your patience. We are very glad to have this opening today. I think it's a very impressive opening, bringing together two artists from Myanmar, one artist with textile artwork, and another is a photographer. And we are happy to have him here, while Sai, the other artist, will be on the screen, but is not going to open his camera because of security concern. I am Leah Sciortino. I am the founder and director of Junction, and Junction is this venue that you see here, which promote understanding of Southeast Asia in all its aspects, the richness of the region as well as the challenges. And we have devoted consistent attention to Myanmar, since we believe it's an issue important not only for the people of Myanmar, but for the people of Southeast Asia and the entire world, actually. We have a very distinguished panel today. We will start with Debbie, which I think don't need much introduction. She is with ALTSEAN-Burma. She has been around for a while, like all of us at this age. And and then we have the honor to have James Rodehaver. I am not sure I spell it correctly, but he's representative for Myanmar with UNOHCR, for the human rights unit of the UN. So very important to hear his vision about the human rights abuses that are being committed in Myanmar at the moment. And then we will have Sai to discuss his artwork, and then Tanwi here will discuss his photography, and we will conclude with Keiko Sei, who has been around for a while. She's also in the same age group, and she's an expert and curator, writer, and art curator who has devoted really her life to art in Myanmar. So please, let's start with Debbie. Each one of you has about 10, maximum 15 minutes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. A very good evening to everyone here. For those who... Hello. Yes. Yep. Okay. Good evening, everybody. And for those who are joining us online or watching the live stream later, I really wish you could be here. It's an amazing room, amazing crowd, but being able to directly experience the exhibition outside and hear and experience the amazing musicians performing revolutionary songs of Burma in a very classical way is really, really special. You know, at this time, at this point of the revolution, over 26,000 people have been arrested. There's over 20,000 political prisoners. I recall about 20 years ago, yes, I've been here long enough. We were highlighting urgently to the international community the fact that 2,000 political prisoners were languishing in Burma's prisons, including elected members of parliament. And here we are again, this time 10 times worse, much, much more brutal and violent, but also inspiringly, the resistance is so much more determined, coordinated, and victorious. At this time, you know, we've actually seen since October, the launch of Operation 1027, at least 500 military bases destroyed by the armed resistance. An armed resistance that emerged because the international community, including ASEAN, failed to take decisive action to take this situation from getting out of control. At this point, the brutality got so bad that in the end, we have to respect people's rights to defend their own lives. And they hit back. When we looked at over 500 military bases destroyed in a matter of months, we were not just amazed at the resourcefulness and the determined resistance, but we were also amazed that there were more than 500 military bases in Burma. We keep talking about militarization being a scourge on Burma and on the region, but that's probably only half the bases so far. But what we've seen, even though people are being targeted, civilians, schools, places of worship, hospitals being targeted with airstrikes. People are still running local administrations independently of the illegal junta. So I think at this point, we need to take heart that we have never seen the extent of this revolution in Burmese history before. And what is also inspiring is the fact that people are stepping across class, religion, ethnicity to stand together, to find ways to trust each other and coordinate with each other. Now, I want to congratulate Tamwe on and Kosai on the achievement. You know, in April 2021, just weeks after the coup started, the incident that made my blood run cold was a report about how a man in Mandalay was stopped. They found a tattoo of Aung San Suu Kyi on his arm, and the local militia used burning tire, which is tire burning. You have to understand, burning tire is the hottest thing you can burn. Criminals actually burn dead bodies with tires because it's so hot, it doesn't leave much behind. So can you imagine they use a burning tire to burn off this tattoo of Aung San Suu Kyi off this man's arm? That made my blood run cold. And later on, we started to see people being targeted for torture and murder in custody because they had tattoos. So, you know, this is not just an expression of edgy coolness. This is literally risking your life to express something very enduring on your skin. And when I look at this very moving exhibition on absence, all of us, some of us here are in exile. We miss the absence of we feel the absence of our loved ones who are in other parts of the country or stuck in Burma or in detention. Similarly, they feel our absence. And the story of Sai's family resonated so much with me. It reminded me so strongly about the abduction and illegal detention of the first president of Burma, Sao Shui Taik, in the 1962 coup. So, you know, when we think about all of those incidents and we understand this has not happened for the first time. It has happened because we as an international and regional community failed to act decisively then. The question now is, can we match the resolve of the resistance? Can we match the determination of the resistance to support them in our own way? I think one of the really powerful things we need to acknowledge is that a movement is not just fueled by anger and weapons. It is a movement that has to have its soul moved. And this is where art, photography, music of the revolution moves our souls. And in so many ways, the power of anonymity, the power of this exhibition where people have hidden their faces actually allows us to feel the depth of their soul and ours in this revolution. Thank you.
I'm going to use this microphone because works better, but now we are, please, you can just take it from me.
No, thank you very much. It's a real honor to be here today, particularly, being part of opening, an exhibition like this with such powerful imagery. I mean, as was just said, I mean, the power of any artistic expression, I think, finds particular gravity and weight whenever it's connected to human rights violations. Art is the way in which I think many people try to communicate or to describe the undescribable, to express the unthinkable. And there is perhaps nothing more unthinkable than the pain and suffering that so many have had to go through. The fact that so many of these images are about either absence or suffering in anonymity, hiding in fear. It is something that is very appropriate, I think, for the individuals in the photos to be anonymous, because there are so many thousands in hiding now. So many people that were eventually caught after being months and months in hiding. And it is something that is just so powerfully conveyed, the empathy that one has to feel with these victims and with their families, and what they have to not only go through on a daily basis, but whenever you realize that, there is still a long way to go. But what I think is quite remarkable, and I know that there is this perception of the United Nations failing the people of Myanmar, and that it has in many ways, because it could not be what the people needed and what the people deserved from the organization. But what is incredibly important right now, and one of the reasons why I think it's not only an honor for me to speak to you because just of the power of this expression, but also on behalf of the human rights wing of the United Nations, we have been trying to speak constantly and consistently about the abuses going on inside the country for many reasons. But one of the first and foremost is that this is a crisis that has been in the making for decades. It is a crisis that at its core is a human rights crisis. This is a perpetrator who has for decades targeted their own people for oppression, suppression, and for, as we see now, aggression. The atrocities being committed on their own people, an organization or an entity whose sworn purpose is to protect the people. That's the only reason for its existence. The only rationale behind the existence of the military is to protect its people. And instead, it is victimizing it on a scale that certainly has not been seen in Myanmar in a very, very long time. Now, what I find, again, that is also so important about this exhibition is that it is, of course, in and of itself, an expression of human rights. This is the refusal to have the right of free expression quenched or stopped or muted. And perhaps the only thing that the Myanmar military has been good at in this crisis, other than killing, has been in muting communication, stopping the flow of information. This is a testament here that ideas and expression will not be stopped. And I think it must be commended on that basis. And I think that most importantly, that it is that communication of empathy that is so essential in a crisis like this, that human rights must find expression, they must be protected. And that is the most important glimmer of hope that I think we see right now on the horizon in Myanmar. And as I was saying, it's an honor to you to speak on behalf of the human rights section of the UN, because we have been trying to keep the narrative alive about this crisis and how important it is. And it's perhaps more important now than ever, because Myanmar has fallen off the headlines and Myanmar is not being talked about. You know, if you're not Gaza or Ukraine, no one wants to talk about the crisis that these people are facing on a daily basis. And it's absolutely horrendous that's the case. But right now, there is this glimmer of hope in Myanmar, and that separates it from almost every other crisis in the world right now. That concerted action on the part of the international community and on behalf of separate member states would actually make a massive difference to turn the tide that has already been turning, as has been said, on the backs of the will, of the resistance, and of the refusal of Myanmar's people to accept their rights being taken away. And that is power. That is powerful. And I think right now the Myanmar military, deep down, they understand just how badly they overestimated their own power and capability. And now it's up to us to convince the rest of the world that this is the case and to help this revolution come to fruition. But I did want to say that the power of this exhibition, and as I say, that the empathy that underlies it, seeing oneself in this expression, is something that I find incredibly powerful, because every photo represents a personal tragedy. Every instance of a human rights violation is a personal tragedy that we should recognize. One day, each one of these tragedies should lead to accountability. There should be justice done for every act that is represented in these very powerful photographs. Now, what I wanted to talk about here today is, of course, just how many of these personal tragedies we have now in Myanmar. You know, as was already stated, there have been over 26,000 people that have gone through what Sai's father is now experiencing. People that were arrested for political expression, prisoners of conscience, a massive number. And they are not talked about enough. This is one of those figures that has just become a number. But you just think of each individual tragedy that underlies every number in that total. Over 26,400 of these individuals and their families that are undergoing this daily nightmare. It's extremely powerful. If you think that over 4,800 individuals at minimum have been killed in this crisis, and I think that that's a vast undercounting of the number of people that have died, especially whenever you think that in these official numbers, there has been almost no data that has been able to be confirmed coming out of the southeast of Myanmar since Operation 1111 began and the carpet bombing of Loikal and several other areas in the southeast began. Now, of course, the carpet bombing and the use of heavy weaponry by a military force targeting its own people, that is nothing new. This is something the Tatmadaw has been doing going back into the 1980s. This is how they put pressure on armed groups to lose credibility with their own people. That if you can't protect us, why are you fighting the military? That's what they want. That's what they're trying to do, is create divisions between the people and the armed groups that are trying to protect them. And so this heavy weaponry continues to be used on a daily basis against civilian locations. Now, there are other more horrific ways that people have been killed than just airstrikes, which sounds crazy, but there have been over 400 individuals that have been burned either alive or shortly after being killed by the military that we've been able to confirm so far. There have, of course, been a whole host of other ways in which people have been killed. Dismemberment, beheadings, public executions. Just keep in mind that that figure of 4,800, over 37% of all of those people killed have been killed once they were arrested or taken into custody by the military. Once they were helpless, once they were fully in the power of the military, they were killed. 37%. That is a huge proportion of the number of people that have been killed. Of course, in terms of sowing terror, they have not just been using bombs and heavy weaponry. They've also been burning, not just individuals, but of course, whole villages. And of course, at this point, the figures vary wildly, but there are anywhere from 70 to over 100,000 structures that have been burned. Not just not just homes, but food stores, fields and agricultural locations, of course, schools, religious buildings, other structures have been burned. Of course, this is to have a massive impact on those communities themselves. Every one of those burnings, if you just think of the tragedy and of the suffering underlying the people and the families in those figures. And of course, you get some sense of the number of that when you look at the number of people that are now in displacement. Over 2.7 million in displacement. So again, these are all numbers, but they are indicative of the number of individual tragedies. And as I say, sadly, these tragedies continue on a daily basis. So as the world is constantly distracted by an overwhelming number of crises, I want people to remember what is happening in Myanmar. And I want them to come and I want them to see the power that art plays in communicating the extent of these tragedies and trying to give voice and purpose behind the suffering people have. Again, explaining the inexplicable. And so we will continue to do our part to give a more human touch to some of this data and figures. And I simply cannot, congratulate the artists enough and to just indicate how much we value your expression and that we owe it to you to do more on behalf of you to make sure this is not a permanent deprivation from your loved ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we are going to Sai. Are you there? He's applauding somewhere.
Hi. I'm here.
Sai,
Hi.
hello. Oh, it's
Hi.
open.
How's everybody?
Are you opening your video?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a little bit. Yeah.
Do you want to talk?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Terry and James, for the very important opening speech, which exactly resonates with Myanmar's situation. And thank you all for joining us today for the opening of the exhibitions here at Junction, Bangkok Art and Culture Center. It's truly an honor to be with you virtually today and share the journey that had led to the creation of this exhibition. And I want to begin by expressing my deep gratitude to the organizers, collaborators, and supporters who have made this event possible. And your dedications and commitments to amplify voices and advocating for change in Myanmar are truly commendable.
Then. Meantime,
can you hear me? Like, is it working?
yeah, try to.
Oh. Okay. So, like, can you hear me now?
Hello.
How's the audio? How is the audio now? Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, in the
Hello.
meantime, is it? In the
I can.
meantime, I think we are going to Tanway. Maybe you can speak while we try to deal with this technological issue. Okay.
Hello. So my name is Tamoy. My name is actually a pseudonym, alias name to hide my identity. So my project is about these young people with tattoo. They are using their body as a canvas to express their love for freedom or their beliefs, something like that. So these are like quite powerful, like even for me myself, they are like inspiring. I even back in Yangon, like after like around April in 2021, military started like cracking down brutally on the protests and rally. So everyone had to hide, and even for the protest organizer or anyone involved in the protest movement, they have to like they have to hide and then move to different areas. Originally, they've been like they have to register to the quarter office, something like that, and so they are moving around different area, and they're still like decided to do these kind of tattoo on their body. It's quite amazing because back in the day, like the military usually raid the places at night, and they look for the sign or anything like a placard, anything they could find in different houses to arrest the people. So they still like decided to use their body to keep continue protesting or expressing their love for the freedom. So
Can you hear me?
so it
Can you
amazed
hear
me,
me?
and then I wanted to document about this because maybe I'm just a photographer. I wanted to amplify these voices and their expression to be heard from people outside of Myanmar. So I started documenting. I've been like talking with them and like making appointment, and then I went to their places and took photo like these sneakily. Yeah, some areas are quite difficult back in that day because military was like blocking the road, and they set up a checkpoint. They look for they look for everything, including your smartphone. Like you have a Facebook or Twitter or something, you posted like a anti-military post or something photo, they usually arrest. So these guys are amazing. Like they let me into their life, and they allow me to photograph. So yeah, in some cases, there are like there were like a roadside bombing exploded. Why like in the morning I made appointment with one of the guy, so there were military around, and then they still like okay, and you can come in and take photo. It's okay. You can come from this lane or something like that. So they are amazing. Like, there are military down there under the apartment, but they still like invited me to continue this project. So these are amazing. And as yeah, as you may have, like they usually like set up checkpoint, and then when they found a tattoo like this, they usually burn the tattoo with a cigarette or like a lighter or like a tire, like they burn the tire and then put put the body like a pour on the tattoo, something like that. They done like this so many places. So, but they still like refuse to cover up these tattoo. So they still like still living in Yangon. Some of them are still now in Yangon as well. So these are amazing, and then these are like something like they truly believe in. That's why they use their body as a like a canvas. Normally, you like you may have a different ideology or something like belief for temporary. Maybe you might throw away your placard after the protest. This is not the something you can throw away and yeah, hide it forever. These are like something like they actually believe in. And these there are some youth also like participated in this project. They are from the different backgrounds. Some of them are from like the resistance fighting groups. Some of them are from the CSO, like they are working at the refugee camp, IDP camps inside Myanmar. So they also have a tattoo like this. So I keep talking with them, and I wanted to photograph. These needs to be documented, because maybe many years later, we need to tell this story. Yeah, so that people can be inspired. Like there are people like this fighting against the military junta, even though they are like doing unimaginable brutality to the people. So I will keep documenting this kind of people. And also I'm also like on side project, I'm documenting the ongoing civil war especially in Kayah state. So I've been photographing this kind of atrocity and the resistance movement running by the local youth, something like that. So these are the people like inspire me, and I hope everyone here will be inspired by them too. I hope like with this project, I hope I can express their feeling and love for the democracy to the people outsider people, so that they can understand and they can do something about the Myanmar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we try again.
Hi.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
loud, very
Yeah.
loud.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Debbie, James, and Damwe, for the important opening speech, which exactly resonate with Myanmar situation. And thank you all for joining us tonight for the opening of the exhibition, Traces of Absence and Symbols of Presence, here at Junction, the heart of Bangkok Art and Culture Center. It's an honor to be with you virtually today, although I want to be physically there. I'm stateless, so this is the problem that every Burmese people face these days. And it is an honor to share this opportunity, share this journey that led me to the creation of this exhibition. I want to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to the organizer, collaborator, and supporters who have made this event possible. Your dedication and commitment to amplifying voices and advocating for change in Myanmar are truly commendable. And as we gather today, I'm reminded of the power of art to transcend boundaries, to evoke emotions, as like James and Debbie had eloquently speak earlier, and to spark meaningful dialogue. For me, this exhibition is not just about showcasing the artwork or how incredible our work is or anything like that, but it is more about bearing the witness to the struggle, the resilience, and the unwavering spirit of people of Burma in the face of oppression. I came out of Burma after hiding 244 days above where the police and soldiers stationed. And when my father was being put into the prison, I did whatever I could while I was supporting the revolution. And I did whatever I could inside the country, but the international organizations, all the humanitarian organizations ignore us, and also international embassies and foreign institutes. But I started to discover that it's not just me that's having this problem. It's also many other families or political prisoners are facing the similar situation. Whenever their concerns are raised, they have been discounted, they have been dismissed, as if that we are not human enough, So I started to think that as somebody with a humanitarian background, how can we be more human? Why people are not hearing us? What is happening to us? Why did this happen? I started to question my idea of justice, my idea of faith on democracy, as the Western society have been marketed for so many years. And even when I tried to register my father as a prisoner at ICRC, they failed to they deny me and they dismiss me. So at the end, I escaped the country through airport miraculously because I have no other choices. I mean, to advocate. But when I managed to get out of the country, I found that very little pay attention. But I have been kicking all the doors and the gatekeepers to speak about the situation of political prisoner that everybody was dismissing. And nobody speak enough of this. All the atrocity that military junta have been conducting in these walls of like horrible human hells that we're facing. All these 26,000 of political prisoners are facing, and they're being treated like slaughterhouse. They've been unprecedentedly, brutally treated and executed, but nobody have been like stopping the SAC, especially the international community. Actually, I didn't want to advocate with art, but as everybody ignore my voice, I have no other choice to use my own art. The impact of the Myanmar military coup on my father and my loved one and my friends have been really profound and driving me to use my creative voice to highlight on the injustice and atrocity being committed. So the artwork you see before you, Trails of Absence, is basically a testament to the collective pain and suffering endured by political prisoners and their family. Each piece of fabric, which is basically sneaked out of all the notorious like prisons, represent not only the individual stories of these unjustly imprisoned are important, but also the collective struggle for democracy and freedom in Myanmar. Just like take the note that on February 29, 2024, a friend who who is an ex-political prisoner, when she was visiting her niece, on the court date, when she was video calling, like using the phone, the police also arrested her as well. She is one of a very old friend that I have, who also helped me get many of the fabrics that you're witnessing right now. So I'm really honored to collaborate with Tamwe on the Symbols of Present as well, which is incredibly great opportunity to explore different dimensions of the Spring Revolution. And his powerful photography captures the resilience and defiance of young individuals who continue to fight for their rights despite facing unimaginable challenges. This is what's happening to the current generation, especially all the young generation. And this revolution, that young generation and the Generation Zs and all the people like us are the foundation of this revolutions. But we also need all the other generation of Myanmar society not to dismiss us, not to dismiss the power of youth, not to dismiss the choices and decision of the youths, and not to dismiss us at all. I urge each and every one of you to engage with our work, to immerse yourself in the story it tells, and to consider your own role in standing in solidarity with the people of Burma. And together we can amplify the voices, advocate for the rights, and work toward a future where all these like 26,000 like political prisoners are released and where freedom and democracy prevail. I'm not telling the story of my family. I have the opportunity to capture the images of my family, but that doesn't mean that it is only happening to my family. It's happening to all the 26,000 political prisoners and their family. And I try my best to resonate and deliver their messages just as a mere messenger. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to everybody who has supported this exhibition and the cause it represents. Your presence tonight is a testament to the power of community and solidarity in the fight for justice. And I would say that, as my artist statement mentioned, this is the evidence that the war cannot sweep us under the carpet any longer. We are not dust anymore. We are on the surface and nobody can shut us down. Let us continue to stand together, united in our commitment to building a better world for all. Thank you so much.
Last but not least, Keiko.
Hello, my name is Keiko. Since Sai didn't really talk about his like personal story. He was making more like statement. So so let me start by talking about like background of those artworks. Because somewhere I met you for the first time today, and then so I will start talking about the side at the beginning. So how I met the Sai, because I teach and then I organize a workshop, like anything about contemporary, because those education is basically missing in Myanmar since 2002. So, and then mostly like film art, design, animation, those culture, art and culture. And so the Sai was making a photography, and he wanted to study more experimental photography, experimental art. So he was recommended to come to my workshop of experimental film and an art film by somebody. And then but then so obviously he was very much interested in learning about anything experimental and an artistic practice. And since that workshop, already the deadline for the submission was already closed. And so he even insisted that he would work as a translator in order for him to be able to attend the workshop. So he was so eager to learn about experimental and then artistic practice. And then so so we became kind of friend. And so he started to talk about his kind of problem with his father, because it's as like anybody has, in your family, you have a problem with a strict father or a strict mother. So that's what he started to talk about it. And then, so this kind of like innocent, like very mundane family story became more political as his father was asked by NLD to become the chief minister of that state. That state. Yeah. And actually the relationship between NLD and that state is very, very complicated. Maybe the Devi can talk, they can explain more about this. It's very, very complicated relationship between NLD and Burmese and the people in that state, right? So his father was implicated in this kind of political intrigue and so on. And then that also started to affect the family relationship, right, as well. And then, of course, after 2021, after the coup, the worst nightmare happened, because his father accepted to be in the chief minister's positions, right? So he was arrested. And so like the family was devastated or everything. And then so the side decided to go back to that state, home state. He was exiled somewhere else, but back to the state and sneak into the official residence of the chief minister. So that you can have a rare glimpse of inside of the official residence of the chief minister of any state, thanks to this artwork. And this is a multimedia piece. So since Sai is a multimedia artist or multidisciplinary artist, so what you see is a photography, but printed on the textile, but there's also photography printed on the paper as well. And there is also a video. So actually what he did was he sneaked into the residential office, but you know that this house was heavily guarded by the army and the police. So it was very, very dangerous for him to sneak in there even, and with a camera. So So sneaked in there, and then he took a photography of so-called trail of absence of his father, and he did the performance in each room. So there is another version of video art, and then performance art as well. Yeah. And so there are different versions of the piece, so you can show it in a single channel video piece, and then also installations. Okay. And okay, so yeah, so that's a background of it. And although he talks about the very complicated political intrigue, relationship, and so on, but in the end, this is about himself, him and the father, relationship of him and the father, because since he was a child, he tried to, because it was so difficult relationship, so he tried to make his father absent from his mind all his life, right? But then because of this political, circumstance, he had to get back the presence of this father to his mind again. And this is so difficult for him. Anybody who has a family problem understand this, right? And so, yeah, so this is about a political prisoner. It is about the politics, but it is as much as political art, it is also personal piece of him. And everybody has a story. Each piece is, and each person in the photography, there is this personal story. So this is also something that you can also think about, and then you can also talk about as well.
Thank you for providing the background to our work of art of Sci, as well as the linkages between personal and public, in a sense, in both the work of the two artists. I open the floor for the first 3 questions or comments, please. One there. Any other? Okay, let's start with I'm afraid we'll have to scream. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rika. I'm from Indonesia. So I thank you very much for the Junction to make exhibition, and was honored. And also, I have to say my condolence for what happened in Myanmar. So I have 2 questions. First is like I was here about expectation and hope and the report for the UN. So I was want to know from the Myanmar Burmese people, what is what the action that they're expecting from the region country, from, for example, like from Indonesia or from Philippines and others. And I know what Thailand is already many things that Thailand did or do for Myanmar. And then the second question is about tattoo, which is interesting about tattoo. But one thing that I want to know is, out of the political context, how close is tattoo in the Burmese cultural uh, uh, use or custom? Thank you.
Let's take two more questions if there are. Anyone to comment or ask? Okay, please. Introduce yourself. Okay, last question. No, okay, so we proceed. Please, Tanwi, we start with you, and then you can pick the question that you prefer.
Sure. So I would like to start with the tattoo. So tattoo is not new practice in Burma, Myanmar, because we have a own traditional tattoo since the long before, way long before. So we have a different belief associated with the tattoo. Some have the related with the Buddhism. Some are like a beliefs in forest spirit or mountain spirit. So sometimes associated with the animal as well, like in Chin states, for example, like they have a tattoo. The women are also like a practice tattoo on their faces, like a tiger tattoo. They believe to have a spirit, stronger spirit, like a tiger, something like that. So they usually have a tattoo. Some tribe has a tattoo tradition. Burmese also like practice Buddhism tattoo. But for the political belief, something like this is maybe quite new, probably like only like a few decades only. Like back in the days, tattoo is only associated with those kind of religious and belief interests. Now it's like they express anything they want, like especially with the youth. So these are the quite new, and also like using their body for this kind of expression is like quite new, as well as they done like quite popular during this revolution. So this is the way it's going. So there are some people like these still like a refuse to cover, even they still within the military control area. So they are still quite brave and still want to express something with their body. So that's the question. And for the question for the maybe related to Indonesia or ASEAN, I wanted like a neighboring country or the ASEAN country to do any possible way. They are especially with the probably related with the fuel like a air fighter fighter. They are using quite a lot military using air power. So I would like maybe neighboring country to start doing maybe asking their own government to put pressure more about the fuel jet importing to Myanmar.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I think that maybe the best question or issue for me to address would just be that first of all, I think that in terms of what was expected from the UN is I think that a lot of the Myanmar people were expecting the UN to have troops or soldiers that could come into the country that could provide support to the Myanmar people to help with protection. And I think that very quickly they understood that that was not going to happen, because you need, of course, the member states of the UN to agree to that, particularly the Security Council. And that includes Russia, China, the US, France, UK. And of course, a couple of those countries I just mentioned are not particularly sympathetic to the democracy movement. That they've been much more supportive of the military in the last few years. That's changed at times, but that's been the case. And so, but I think that the main thing that they want now is, first of all, they don't want the international community doing anything to legitimize what the military is doing. They don't want them to treat them like they're the government, because they're not. They are not recognized officially as the government of Myanmar. So don't do business with them. Don't invite them to international meetings or treat them like they're anything other than what they are, which are, thugs that are inflicting violence on their own people. So I think that that's rather critical to know. The other question I wanted to address quickly is the one about how to get news about what's going on in the country, and how to know what's going on particularly in the everyday lives of people throughout the country. And this is also part of the military strategy, to deny that kind of information to the international community. They've done it by shutting down media outlets, by targeting journalists for arrest. There have been over 140 journalists arrested over the last 4 years. And of course, they've shut down mobile data and internet services in about anywhere from 25 to 30% of the country, particularly in the areas that are where the conflict is going on most intensively. And so what that does is it deprives people of information. And I think what they're hoping is the effect. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, is it really happening? And I think that's what their strategy is, that, if no one knows about the genocide you're committing, is it really genocide? And I think they learned that lesson from what they did to the Rohingya in 2017. And so much footage came out over that crisis that now this is their strategy now, to deny people that access to information. So I do think that a lot more needs to be done by the international community to give people access to things like Starlink and other mobile data services that could increase the flow of information. But I also think that media outlets need to be more brave and go into these areas where the armed groups are active, particularly because, again, they don't need visas to go into the country. The Myanmar military cannot say this is a valid visa or it's not. They don't have that authority. So just go into the country, work with the armed groups, go in, get the information, because the world needs to know what's happening. Because unfortunately, the media, it does function of, well, if there aren't pictures, why should we cover it? So anyway.
Oh, how do I keep this brief? Um, um, I'm the founder and coordinator of the Alternative ASEAN Network on Burma, commonly known as ALTSEAN-Burma. Now, every month, our very hardworking and slightly traumatized team goes through 500 pieces of news, 500 news articles in English and Burmese a month, and sort it out and summarize it and publish it in a monthly Cool Watch briefer. And also, we can't publish everything, so a lot of other stuff is in our 7 thematic trackers. So if you want to use this, it's all source. We actually show where the information comes from. You can translate it in your local language, whether it's Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Thai. Please use our stuff. I think that's really important. And we've done most of the work for you, so please just translate it. I think that's really important. Indonesia said they had to be polite when they were chairing ASEAN. They did not want to be seen as abusing their privilege as the chair of ASEAN. So they told us last year, sorry, we can't do everything you want, but after we finish chairing ASEAN, we will be able to do more. Well, it's already 3 months of 2025, and we are waiting for Indonesia to do more. I think the Indonesian authorities will not respond unless Indonesian people also make a noise. So this is quite important. So Ika, tolong ya. Okay. And then when we talk about the daily life of people, even people in Rangoon are saying, even with money, we still we can't buy anything. The value of the chart has worsened. It's actually weaker than even is lost nearly 50% of its value. And rice, we all from ASEAN, we need to eat rice. The price of rice in Burma, an exporter of rice, the domestic price of rice is about 300% what it was in February 2021. That's the issue. It's not about a problem with let's just keep quiet, don't do any politics, and live our life quietly. Whether you like it or not, you cannot escape from the situation. If there's one thing you learn from Sai's exhibition and Tamway's exhibition is that this is one of those situations you cannot run away from the fact that the political is personal and the personal is political. That the whole situation in Burma epitomizes that. And people depend on friends and relatives and sympathizers sending money inside, sending resources inside, because it is so absolutely difficult to survive on their own. The military is not just bombing IDP camps and schools and hospitals and places of worship. They are destroying rice fields. Let's not forget, even 20 years ago, the military was notorious for planting landmines around rice fields in Karen state. This is an absolute war crime. It's a violation of Geneva Convention. And this is what they're doing. They're going after farmers and producers, but they are still insisting on exporting rice. So when we say, what can Thailand, what can ASEAN do? I still don't understand the logic of this humanitarian corridor. Thailand claims that they're going to soften up the junta by organizing this humanitarian corridor. And the humanitarian corridor is basically an opportunity for the junta to actually grab back all the land and territory that they lost. under the guise of humanitarian. There's so many people working on the ground, communities helping each other and helping themselves. Why are we not working with them? They are the ones who actually have been resourceful and efficient and cost effective in getting aid to those who need it. Why are we not working with them? Yes, we can't send peacekeepers to Burma, but civilian protection, we all can do something about civilian protection. Malaysia was deporting Rohingya survivors of genocide back to Myanmar into the hands of the military. And now they're demonizing Rohingya in Indonesia, in Malaysia. Rohingya are being subjected to hate campaigns and demonization. Even in Thailand, in response to the forced conscription of young people by this illegal junta, the Thai authorities have warned the people who are trying to flee forced conscription that these are illegal immigrants. Excuse me, what is illegal is the junta whom you are working with. Okay, you don't have to go to Myanmar, but the people here, the people in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Cambodia, where else, Laos, let them live in peace and safety. If you don't want to go and offer civilian protection in the country, you should at least allow them to be safe here, at the very least. Because in the end, ASEAN has failed to recognize that the human security, this is the most serious human security crisis in the region. And they are happy that the UN international community said, oh, we leave it up to ASEAN. What is ASEAN doing? They're sitting on their hands. They're looking at Palestine. They're not looking at their own front yard. And it doesn't make sense, because how do you talk about ASEAN recovering from the economically from the COVID pandemic when we have a country that's bleeding right in the middle of us? So I still, it's quite outrageous. I'm sorry. And I think also what was very poignant for me from Tanwei's pictures is that most people were using chrysanthemum, which in Rangoon and other parts of Burma is the most popular flower that people put in the monasteries and in the shrines and the altars. So it really was special. But I also wanted to say that, you know, what we're talking about what can we do from the outside, it's so reminiscent of the photo of, if you go back, please go back and look, of the man standing outside the window and reaching his hand through the curtain and connecting with the ribbon with his mother. So I think that is really like us, all of us standing just outside the window and still being connected by that thread of solidarity. I think that's really important. And talking about presence, I couldn't help but I want to share something personal. Presence and absence. We're here at the Bangkok Art and Cultural Center. And I always, when I'm here, I'm always reminded of Ajahn Kraisak Chunhawan, the late Kraisak, who fought so hard for the BACC, for the Bangkok Art and Culture Center to be here. But he was also a champion of the human rights and democracy movement of Burma. And it is so special, Leah, that you could host us here. Thank you.
It's an honor to be linked to Senator Krasak. Okay, please.
Okay, so talking about synods, like there is a candidate of synod here that I really have to thank you, who will probably become a, hopefully in the next synod in Thailand. The
NGO, civil society
Democratic
representative.
one,
Yeah,
yes, the
let's
democratic
clarify about this.
Yes. But anyway, so yeah, I really thank you for the question, because actually my original manuscript for my talk was all about anonymity. but because of the time constriction, like I had to cut out the whole part of my main talk. So now, thanks to your question, I can back to my original. Yes, because you notice that all those the artists, including Sai, including Tamwe, and including all those people who are in the artwork, they're all using anonymous name or pseudonym, right? And that is very common in Myanmar art. But you can imagine if you're artists who want to build your career, who want to build your portfolio, you cannot really say that this is my work, right? And even sometimes to get a visa, to be accepted as an exile, you need to prove that you did this and this in exhibitions, so on and so on, which you cannot prove it, right? So there is there has been like real ambivalent relationship between anonymity and an artist, because in some way they feel safer in anonymity, but at the same time this is also conflict with a building career as well. But also, if you notice that actually the anonymity that they use, it's not full anonymity. It's more like coded anonymity that I would call, because for example, Sai, black, right? If you know about Myanmar, if you say Sai, you know which state you are from. So it's more like a coded anonymity. They kind of leave some kind of trace in that, in their identity, right? And so, because, the artist wants the audience to more deeply engage in your theme. So it's not like they show like, I introduce your exotic artwork, but they're calling for your deep engagement in your artwork. Right? So the successful artists, creative people are able to integrate the problem of anonymity into their artwork. For example, the tattoo. It's a prime example. Like tattoo and which flower they are using it, as Davey explained, and the flower in a size work, it is made by the political prisoners' clothes and representing his state, right? So so somehow they really try, and then they are able to present their identity in their own way, and then in their very artistic way as well.
Thank you. It's very interesting. Sai, I have not forgotten about you. So please, now is your turn.
Okay, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for all all the speaker have mentioned what is totally resonate with me. And regarding ASEAN, I would say, although like all the representatives are here, I would like to mention that UN's deferral of its responsibility to ASEAN and its futile 5-point consensus over the past period is quite disappointing to in my opinion, and also the fact that the ASEAN have been inviting military hunters like ministers, for example, the kind, to all the meetings, and I just couldn't fathom why the ASEAN is enabling a kind of legitimacy to the military junta. There's my first big question. And currently, ASEAN and its approaches have been utterly failed to take concrete measures to end the crisis in Burma. And it only served to deter tangible action by the international community. And that is a very sad thing. So I would say that entities like UN must stop hiding behind the failed 5-point consensus and take concrete action to assume its responsibility to protect the people of Burma. And not just that, all the international community as well. I mean, in terms of Ukraine, I'm really envy the fact that Ukraine have like wonderful like neighbors. But I also started to understand that regardless of our own respective government try to do the propaganda to hate each other, Thai people have been supporting us. Like I was a part of BIPEN when I was still inside the country. There was a program between Thai artists and Myanmar artists, and I'm the only Myanmar artist who's still inside the country back then. And I started to understand the power of like, you know, this kindness and humanity beyond the boundaries, you know, all these geographical boundaries. And as much as I have this opportunity to get out of Burma, I start to understand that we shouldn't just fight for the oppression or atrocity happening in Burma. Like the war is not in a really good situation. And we have to fight for the global oppression. That is very much important. We cannot stick to the perpetrator. Like, let's go back. Myanmar junta and Israel government, they have been collaborating for so many years, along with Russia government, along with like CCPs. So all these global Goliaths have been walking hand in hand and looking at each other's methodologies of oppression for so many years throughout our history. And what happened to us? Like we just so distracted by their propaganda, and we just see, when we think about other people who are facing and fighting their respective battle, we start to think that, oh, that is their battle. But I think what happened to Burma in the past like 3 years basically clear everything. The fight for Thai people, the fight for Myanmar people, the fight for Hong Kong people, Ukraine, now Palestinian, everything is our fight. It is a fight, humans like fight against oppression, against authoritarianism. So we have to keep this solidarity, and we just have to see each other regardless of our nationality, regardless of the citizenship. We have to see each other as human to human. That's all I need to say. Thank you.
I think this is a very passing conclusion for our event tonight. It's not finished. We have still the cutting of the ribbon and then food and music. So please, revolutionary music by Warwar and the cultural ensemble group, also led from with mix of Myanmar and non-Myanmar people. Again, an example of solidarity across border. On your way out, please do your duty and give a donation in the box that will be shown to you, and also promote this exhibition. Will be here for 3 weeks. So you will have time to tell your friend to come and visit, because it's very worth. There is Songkran in the middle. So again, an occasion for people to visit while on holiday. And please continue to follow us. There are also catalog of the exhibition and postcard. Again, it's a way to support the artists as well as us to be able to do this kind of events. Thank you very much to all the speakers. A good applause. And please walk towards that door so we go to the ribbon. Yeah.